My idea is that they talk like about 10 minutes and then we have a nice chat. We are only a few, so don't be shy. We are among friends. Yeah, don't worry to ask anything that might seem easy, because these technologies are brand new, and I think that curiosity is fundamental to, to take part in the game and take advantage of what these technologies can offer. So we start with Emilio Molina. He's one of the heads of research at BMAT in Barcelona, a startup where he works on a large-scale automatic identification of music and AI technologies for automatic classification of audio. Sorry that I'm reading because it's impossible otherwise. So he wants to reveal what technologies can be used to automatically analyze the audio content. So he will talk about video and audio fingerprinting, cover detection, and music detection.
Okay, thanks, Larissa. And really, thanks for being here. We are a few. Okay, I'm Emilio Molina, as Clarissa said. I work in research at BMAT, and I would like to talk about technology for a better music industry. I'm not much into the music business because I'm mostly a technical guy. But anyway, I would like to tell you the motivations that justify that BMAT exists from the business perspective. So in the music business, our view is that, of course, if an artist contributes to the world with music, with something good, and it has a good impact on society, it is quite logical that the artist receives something good from it, like, well, is the copyright. It's like some kind of karma, right? And the problem nowadays is that this circle is not working perfectly because, well, copyright societies don't really know what has been played everywhere. And sometimes, even if they know what has been played, they might have problems to link the information they receive to their catalog to really link that information to the right artist. So at the end of the day, it might happen that an artist goes to a concert, writes the song that has been played in the concert and they give it to a guy, for instance, in Spain. And even if they have the written songs, they have problems to link them to the original catalog because maybe the metadata is a bit different, etc. And of course, the Copyright Society doesn't know what has been played in all TVs, in all radios, etc. So that is why BMAT exists. At BMAT, our motto is like, what plays around will come around. And what we do is we hear everything everywhere what has been played in TVs and radios, and we give this information to whoever wants to know it. This is super important because the money is already there. The money is already there in the copyright societies, ready to be distributed, and it has to be distributed to the right artists that have been played. When there is no automatic tracking of music, the winners are the big artists, because the process they typically do is like some kind of sampling. Since they cannot hear everything, they sample the information that has been played, and apart from this sampling, they estimate who has been played in the clubs and in TVs, radios. And the problem there is that the long tail really suffers. The long tail of small artists really suffers from this sampling. And in our experience, when we provide this automatic tracking of the music that has been played everywhere, there are many more small artists that are considered for the copyright distribution. So in that sense, our work here is helping especially small artists. So which technologies do we use to monitor the music? Well, apart from some some ones like text matching for metadata matching or big data software techniques, etc. There are a few that are based on signal processing and these are the technologies I'm working on, and I think they are especially interesting. So the first one is, the most important one for us is audio fingerprinting. Audio fingerprinting, for those who doesn't know really what is it, is Shazam actually, is the concept of Shazam where you record something and you're able to identify what has been played, right? At BMAT, we have our own technology for audio fingerprinting that is running in our servers, analyzing the music that has been played in all places, in radios. We monitor like more than 6,000 channels around the world, among TVs, radios, clubs. And this technology, well, if you want to know more or less how does it work, is pretty cool. In the case of Shazam, they published their secrets, or part of them, not all of them, but so in the case of the Shazam technology, you can know more or less how does it work. And what they do is they extract the spectrogram of the sound. The spectrogram is like a time frequency representation. It's like an image. And they analyze there the most salient peaks, like the most energetic event of the sound. They link this event, and this is like the fingerprint. The fingerprint has to be a unique representation of audio that very fast to process, right? So this is the first technology that we use at BMAT. Another technology that we use, not against all the channels and for all the catalog, but for specific cases, but is similar to audio fingerprinting, but it's called cover detection. The problem of audio fingerprinting is that it doesn't really work for covers because it is useful to identify a unique recording, not a unique work. So in the case of cover detection, this representation has to be robust against musical transformations, like different arrangements, different singer, different lyrics. So it's a different problem. But anyway, at BMAT, we also can run this cover detection. Yeah, but we don't do it for all channels. And there is another technology that is called music detection. It's a technology useful to analyze whether there is music or not in an audio stream, even if we are not able to identify which song is it. So this is useful to know, for instance, for our customers, to know what music has been played, but we didn't identify it, maybe because we don't have the catalog or whatever. And with this technology, we can also know if the music is played in the foreground or in the background. In other societies, well, we work with around 100 societies around the world. And for instance, in the French society, the way they calculate the fees that TV channels, radios must pay to the copyright societies depend on the amount of music they use and on the amount of foreground and background music they use, right? So this is another different kind of technology. This is a classification problem. We have audio and we have to classify it, even without any catalog, whatever. And this technology is also running at BMAT against all channels and yeah, for 24 hours. And yeah, these are the technologies we use. We work with many labels. I read in the numbers around 1,000 labels and publishers around the world. So if some of you is in a label and your music is not in our catalog, I really recommend you to send it to us, because in this way we will be able to track it and to report it correctly, right? And And from my side,
Is it
that's
free
all.
for the musicians
To give their music.
I mean, to use
Yeah.
your service?
For musicians, I mean, to know the report, to know what has been played, is not free. But, well, if you provide your music, we can track it for free and send the report about your music to the Copyright Society for free. That is for sure, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we maybe get back to that later.
Okay.
Nice time for Michael Gordon. He's an applied research scientist specializing in developing intelligent systems. He's currently working at Pixel R&D. His research interests include computational creativity, generative art, content and metadata creation. Michael thinks that as an industry we need greater transparency, metadata management and coordinated effort to ensure money gets back to the creators who fuel the industry. And he wants to talk about the wildest dream of AI in music.
Okay, thank you. Is this working? Hopefully so. Okay, so first of all, I was going to talk a little bit about how that in this industry today, there's about $2.5 billion worth of royalty payments, which just isn't getting to where it belongs. But it seems like this is going to be covered quite a bit by the rest of the panel. So I thought I would talk a little bit something about what one of the wildest dreams could be, potentially using AI today. So I think as musicians, what people's dreams could be to collaborate with our favorite artists, right? So across the world, or maybe throughout time. So what I want to talk about is that with some of the progress that we're making in artificial intelligence, in some way this could be a future. Because at the moment there are people that are creating music generation models. They're able to mimic the way that Beethoven or Bach plays. Okay, so we've got lots of data which is being created, and we can build models that can then, sort of the same way that when we're texting, and like using a language model, it can predict the next word, we can predict the next note or chord that a certain artist is going to be making. So for instance, I think it was, so Duke Ellington once said, this isn't piano, this is dreaming. And so we can actually continue the dreams of artists, like, even after they passed away. So that we also have another thing from natural language, which is the question-answer model. So you ask it a question, it responds back with an answer, and this is used and trained on like Wikipedia. And we can use models like this. There's a lot of collaboration between natural language, artificial intelligence, and computer vision, and in audio as well. So I'd like to imagine that in the near future we would be able to have an AI which we could have a jam session with. So that we would have like Duke Ellington playing, and then someone comes in on violin, and then we say, okay, what does Duke Ellington do in this circumstance? The virtual Duke Ellington, if you like. Does he continue playing and let that person play over him? Does he give that person space? Does he adapt to the way he's playing? So I think that's something that's very interesting that I could see, given the work that's being done, that this is something that is possible. How long or when it's going to happen, I'm not sure. But with artificial intelligence in the future, I think we're going to be able to collaborate with people, and we won't be limited by geography, accessibility, or mortality. I think that's pretty awesome. We can talk more later.
In a near future, or in a...
Well, la semana que viene, no. Next week, no. So at the moment, you know, we have models which are generating music. They're not so good. I'm not saying that's so good. They're not maybe as good as we would like them to be, but I think OpenAI has just had an artist in residence that has created something which does quite well. She was using a top-level library from Fast AI, if some people are aware of them, which is built on top of PyTorch. It's very accessible technology, all written in Python. So, and I highly recommend that if anyone is interested in this, to check out the fast.ai website and blog, because it has a lot of information there. It has a blog post about this woman's work, which you can read about how to create these music generation models. So very accessible technology which is built upon models that have been created by other people. So they've spent the money on the GPU processing and to be able to create models, and using something called transfer learning, we're able to utilize all of Google's computation and all their spending on all of these different models, and we don't have to spend as much money or much time to get state-of-the-art results, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, cool. So we go on.
Okay, yeah.
Now it's time for Christoph Mack. He has been responsible for digital business at Sony Music Austria for 6 years, but in 2016 he co-founded Fortunes, a one-stop solution in music analytics focusing on artists and producers. So Christoph wants to discuss how keeping track of the data generated by a growing number of services is an important task in developing and growing an artist's career.
Thank you. Hey. I think I'm the only non-tech guy here on the panel.
On the panel.
True, sorry. So I'm going to focus a bit on the business side of the whole data thing. But when I started working in the music business, it was 2010, and I was responsible for all the digital revenue from Sony Music in Austria. I was actually surprised when I looked at the numbers, how important ringtones and ringback tones and all of these crazy things still were. It was a substantial portion of the market. And when I left Sony Music 6 years later, the market was dominated by streaming services, by Spotify and Apple Music, who were starting at the time. And I think it's really, really interesting how quick this market changed. And digitalization has really fueled, together with streaming services, then the whole DIY market. Artists without a label and independently signed artists are the fastest growing segment of the whole music market. And that's due to the digitalization, because it's now easier than ever to record music and to distribute music and to release it, and millions of music creators are doing that right now. They're producing music on their digital audio workstations, which basically come pre-installed with their laptops, and it's very easy to distribute music to YouTube, to SoundCloud, to Spotify, and they're promoting themselves on various social media channels and so on and so on. And the interesting thing here is that the more and more the music market gets into streaming, the more and more it gets globalized. Back in the days, it was really hard for artists from Austria, for example, to cross the border to Germany, because you would need a physical distributor there, you would need a label or a management who's taking care of things in Germany. But with Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music, all of the streaming services, it got really easy to cross borders and to generate revenue that way. And actually that's what Spotify is doing right now. They're telling artists, hey, you don't need distributor. You can just upload your music to Spotify and we distribute it to Apple Music as well. They're telling you, hey, you don't need a label, because just use Spotify for Artists to pitch us your music. And at the same time, they're developing algorithms who are creating playlists all of the time, very personalized playlists. Also the editorial playlists of Spotify, these big playlist brands are getting more and more personalized. So there's this DIY market that's really developing very well at the moment. And the more and more I talk to young up-and-coming artists, I feel like they're forgetting that they don't need only Spotify and only their Instagram account to create a career. They're forgetting that they need teams, they need the right tools to look at the data they're generating in order to have a valuable career. So that's what we do at Fortunes, actually. We're an artist-centric data analytic company. So we're not in the business of tracking millions and millions of artists and telling the major label A&R, hey, you should sign this artist because he or she is developing well. We're on the other side. So we built a product. We just released it 7 months ago. It's an iOS app, but we have a browser version that looks well on Android phones too. What we do is we track all sorts of sources. So when you onboard yourself, you will tell us, okay, this is my Spotify account, this is my YouTube, this is my Twitter, my Instagram, and so on and so on. And we keep looking online what's happening to your music. So we tell you if you get added to a playlist, we tell you how your track develops on that playlist, is it going up or is it going down? We track YouTube for user-generated uploads, so we tell you if somebody uploaded a cover or an unofficial remix, or if a YouTube influencer uploaded one of your tracks. We're also, of course, keeping track of your social medias and blog posts, so if somebody writes about your music, you'll get that on the app. Because the thing is, as a DIY artist or as an artist working with a small team, small label, you need to do a lot of the work yourself. You need to be a social media manager, a content creator. You need to, at the beginning, you need to be your own booker, and for all of that, you need to know your data. You need to know what's going on with your career. If you go to an A&R these days, you don't need only a great song. You need a story that you're telling, and the story might be your social media followers or the way you interact with your fans, and yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight. So make sense of the data your music generates and be able to communicate it to your partners and to the people that you're working with, and really enable teamwork. That's one of the key factors in career development these days, I think.
Thank you. Now, Marius Miron is going to talk about, he would like to reflect on bias in music technology, particularly when using machine learning or big data. First, Marius is a postdoc researcher at European Commission Research Center that is here in Seville. He's working with on the impact of artificial intelligence on humans. He has a PhD from Music Technology Group in Pompeu Fabra University on separating the audio corresponding to the instruments in orchestral music mixtures. And well, he thinks that even though machine learning has been useful in the field of music distribution, one must be aware of the limitation that these technologies have. No, right?
Yeah, so I'm here more to talk about how data can give you nightmares, not dreams. So well, let's not get too pessimistic. So, of course, music recommendation has changed a lot in the past years, and well, the music industry itself, so we moved from a ownership kind of model, so everyone was owning a CD, a record. Now it's more like water, like a service that flows everywhere on the internet, so it's like more like an access kind of product. So this changes a lot how people can benefit and interact with music. So in terms of data, how do we get data? What is data in this kind of environment? So data comes from tags, from playlists, from listening logs, from I don't know, people talking on their blogs about music. So this has a really strong cultural component. So people from Africa might not have the same kind of listening patterns as people from Europe or US. And well, you can also have data which is extracted from the pure audio signal. This has less cultural bias. And also there is a very strong movement towards limiting what is called the long tail. So basically music recommendation in the past was done with collaborative filtering. So people were looking at what your friends are listening. So people in your area, and we will recommend something similar to what your friends are listening. This creates feedback loops. These are filter bubbles. So you get, you end up having very boring recommendations. So you also penalize more artists who are not so known. So in this way, small artists are penalized. This is not a fair situation. Artists from countries which are underrepresented are also penalized. This is also penalizes the listeners. So we know now that listeners who are in more individualistic cultures like US or Western Europe have more diverse music tastes. This is not true for other countries, and many cultural patterns. So now, let's say, I think Spotify and Pandora, they track this data, so they track your location, your listening pattern, in order to bypass some of these problems that technology has. By this means, in my project in the European Commission, it's called the Humane Project, we try to look a bit at the biases that technology has. So we look at products that use machine learning that specifically interact with data. So you might have data sets which have biases from the start. When you want to launch a product in Africa, but you don't have any African artists in your data set, and this might be a big problem. We look at explanations that are offered by AI products, by machine learning products. So recently I got recommended some hip-hop black artists just because I was listening some Nigerian Afrobeat artists, but there is no connection between them. Just the word black might have pointed to that. Do I want that or not? So we look at this kind of problems. Also the inclusiveness of this product. So how many people from a specific ethnic background do you recommend? And we also look at how well, we call this in academia music information research. So this research that extracts information from the music metadata and the audio signal and analyzes the type of rhythm, the genre of music. So basically, we want to do everything automatically to extract this info from the data, so we make better products. So this has a very big cultural bias. So not only the data, but the people that create this product, they have a cultural background. They think in the same way. If you create a DAW like Ableton Live, let's say, or something that 90% of musicians use, what is the impact of music creation worldwide? I mean, do you have more music created in the same meter, like 4/4? Do you have less music created in the, so I think this, in the same way as filter bubbles, this dampens creativity. And related to music generation, we're also looking at this part. So as I think Spotify has acquired a whole research team from Sony recently, and they plan to move towards a service that is more similar to Netflix. So they try to be a content provider, not just a content distributor. So they try to generate music and sell that music. So this means we try to look at the ethics of this. So if you web scrape the internet for MIDI files or some music of some artist, you extract information from that, and you generate music in the same style. Should we regulate that? Should you give something back to the artist that created that song initially? I mean, how this does stop, and how can we regulate that? So these are the two fields that we should look at: music making and music distribution.
Okay, thank you. So, I don't know if you have any questions regarding to what we have talked. I'm sure because technology can be overwhelming, like all that you have been talking is like, wow. But for musicians, sometimes technology is like, this kind of technology is like far away, but they need it, right? If they want to, as you say, get the money that they, or...
It's a tool. Technology has been always a tool for musicians, for the electric guitar.
Yeah, totally.
So this is new technologies, but maybe some of them are not too mainstream yet.
But they
for
will.
sure they will be.
Totally. Do you have any questions? You as an informatic.
Different part of the problem, so I don't know where to start.
Do you think...
I have a project I'm working with, it's called Anthropoloops, and we are...
Can you use the microphone, please?
Hola. I'm working in a group, it's called Anthropoloops, and we are mixing old music, anthropological recordings. We use them to make new music and use remixes. We are focusing in creating new content from old one and the ethics of doing that kind of things, and we also trying and exploring ways to do it automatically, taking things like exploring automatically because there are big data sources of anthropological music and sounds, and ways to scan them and create new music or make tools to musicians create new music. So I think all you said is interested in my interest. I do not share, I don't think that technologies can solve alone all that problems. For example, you talk about, I think it's important to know what music is played, but if the one who pays that music is broken, I think they are in a big way. So it doesn't solve the problem. I don't know if I'm explaining very well. So I don't know, I don't have any question specific, maybe talking with one of you each other alone, I don't know.
I don't know if you know Anthropoloop's project is really, really interesting and very nice.
We will have a look.
Hopefully.
I have a question a little bit. Emilio, do you have speak about one tool to know where your song?
Yeah.
And a few minutes ago, with a panel about IAE, they speak about another tool as well for the people who are working with them, and they use that tool for the same way. I mean, they have the musicians have a panel to know where is the songs sounding or where is the music about as well for the radios and TVs, something like that. Is the same.
But who that?
AIE, la asociación.
Okay.
They make a tool speaking about platform. Well,
maybe they are talking about BMAT.
I don't know.
Are you the only one who...
The name is called EIE Sound. I don't know, remember. But
well, I mean, there are more companies doing something similar, monitoring, right? I'm pretty sure that if they are doing that, they are using similar technologies as us.
I think so.
Yeah, there are competitors, let's say.
Okay. That's what we're watching. If you have any collaboration or you know about that?
No. Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
Looking for that. Yeah. And another thing as well. Yesterday we were a person who speaks about blockchain for technology to check where is the songs goes as well.
Yeah.
You think it's a good technology to do that?
Yeah, about blockchain now there is a lot of hype about that. It's everywhere. Well, I will give you my personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
Blockchain is like this concept of creating a global database where everything is there and is safe, no? And like all the metadata from artists, whatever is in a single place, and everyone goes there to get the data they need, right? The problem for that is that, according to our experience, there's a lot of logistics in changing the process of the agents right now in the music industry. For instance, if we go to Sky, they have their own processes, their own catalog, their own database. So unless there is something that is like a de facto standard, like saying, okay, now we have to go to this blockchain, whatever, because otherwise we are like out or we are wasting resources, it's very hard for all the agents to agree to suddenly change to this different paradigm, right? So, yeah, I think that maybe if in the future some big agents of the music industry agree and this big part start working on developing something about blockchain, then maybe the small part will join them. And then we can get this global catalog of everything that, for sure it will be super, super useful.
So I'll just say, so I think, does this actually work? Yeah, people here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think so.
More or less. Okay, so I think blockchain is a tool, right? The problem is that we need more transparency. So what's happening is that we have royalties which aren't getting paid, people aren't aware of what's necessarily going on, that there exists this black market of kind of the main players and the middlemen involved. And for instance, all these unpaid royalties, they're earning like I think 2.5 billion, it was reported last year, which is earning tens of millions each year in interest payments alone. And where's this money going? It's going into people who aren't creators, it's going into their pockets. So what I think we need to do as an industry, this is my personal opinion, hopefully it's shared, is kind of work together to figure out a better solution. It might be blockchain, it might be another way of doing it to increase transparency and to make sure that if there is interest, which is being earned, maybe it's not going into someone else's pockets, maybe it's being used to kind of help people who wouldn't otherwise be able to create music or to go back to the industry as a whole. And probably for that we need an industry-wide effort.
Yeah. So you say that it's not only the technical problem, the technical problems and the logistic problems, but also interest problems, right?
Yes, exactly. So, for instance, where is the motivation to match the music with who owns the royalties if you're earning the money against it? Now, currently, who's holding all of this? It's complicated. Some people, Sound Exchange, Spotify, other players involved, but we need to have the motivation there in place.
I can tell you that in our experience, the reason that copyright societies come to us is typically because they have pressure from the big labels, and it's not, they just want to keep having their members and to keep receiving the money, and so they have this pressure, and that is why they react and they sell this transparency, right? So. Yeah, but I am optimistic about that, because I'm seeing that this pressure is making the copyright society to worry more about this transparency. So I think it is changing.
Yeah, I agree. It's changing, especially now in the streaming era. We have all the data there. We have the tools available to have this type of transparency. And it is changing. It's just when and how fast.
Yeah.
But I think pressure on the collecting societies is becoming bigger and bigger, because a lot more people are suddenly making money with music through streaming, through YouTube and so on. So they have to adapt or go away, maybe.
Yeah, especially if you go in the newspapers, corruption scandals every few years, like happening, I don't know, some here in Spain it happens. This is even more pressure, It's like, okay, you have a lot of money, please, we all have to be sure that you are distributing it in a right way, no? Yeah.
So I have a question, like, let's say, algorithms tell us what to listen to, do you think, in a way, in some way? But on the other hand, musicians that have are not in big companies or so, they can put their music on those platforms, but it's for, I don't know if I'm explaining myself. Is it like Spotify is like an enemy or a friend at the end? Because they tell you what to listen, but on the other hand, you can put your music there and it's available for more people. So
I can answer that. So I think their goal now is a never-ending music listening. So they want you to just listen music until you are even in the sleep. So basically, I think they deploy two strategies. So it's the first strategy is play it safe, so exploitation. So they know exactly what it works for you, and they play you the same songs that work for you. And the second strategy is exploration. So this means they try to sell you things which are new to you. So in this way, they also make money, and the new artists, they also make money. So I think the first strategy, the play it safe, it benefits more the label, the Spotify or the SoundCloud or whatever music service. And the second strategy, it benefits more the artist, because you have 60,000, you can play a new artist every 5 minutes. So that's a good thing for the artists.
But I think from an artist perspective, it's important to keep in mind that Spotify is not in the business of generating fans for the artist. They're in the business of generating streams on their platform. So if you're developing your career, you then all of a sudden you probably might generate a lot of Spotify streams because your music got added to the right playlist. But if you look only at the Spotify data, in that case, you look at into a data silo, and you can dig deep into that, and it's very interesting to get all the data out there. But if you're developing a career, you need to check all of the other channels as well. If you're generating a lot of streams in Seville, all of a sudden, because your music got added to a local playlist, it might not mean that you should go here and play a show, because maybe people are just pressing play on the playlist and then doing the laundry or whatever, and are not actively engaging with the artist and the music. So you need to look at all the other data sources that you have, your social media channels, your YouTube channel, and so on, and see if you see any connections between those different services and data silos.
Yeah, I also think that you should find the platform that works for you, because since everyone uses data-driven system, the data on Spotify is not the same data as in SoundCloud. And if you're like a DJ, you might want, maybe SoundCloud is better for you. I don't know. YouTube also has a really good platform. So it's a fact that the data and these algorithms, they don't recommend in the same way on the same platform. So you might be more successful on another platform than what you are using now. And this is a problem, because this means that it has bias. So I don't know. For artists in Spain and Seville, what is going to be, what is the best platform? It depends on the musical genre that you're playing and on many other things. But it's important to know that all of these data-driven systems, they have some bias.
Cool.
I have a little question for Christoph. Because I don't know if I understand very well what you're doing in your company, and I understood that it's something like an analytics for musicians. Mm-hmm. And if that's right, I want to know if it's free, or what kind of business model do you have from an artist?
Yeah. So what we do is we were like a Google analytic for musicians and for artists. So we track all different sources like Spotify, YouTube, socials, and tell you how your music is developing, if you get added to a playlist, if a blog writes about you and stuff like that. we released our iOS app 7 months ago, and it's free. And it's going to stay free for a while at least. We are thinking about different revenue models. Maybe we will have a model where the app is always free for the artist, but if there are teams involved, like a label or a management, they are going to have to pay a little fee if they want to look at the data in a more aggregated way. So yeah, for artists it's free. And if anyone wants to look at it afterwards, I'm here until Sunday, so happy to give you a demo.
Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to?
We talked a little bit about music generation and I think the work that Spotify is doing. Maybe it's just worth mentioning that there are other players in this space as well. So I think there's like Amper Music, there's Juke Deck as well. Mainly, I think these people are directed to the sync market, so providing some type of backing music for films and these type of things. There are some artists that have utilizing this technology, so singers that then can create their own bands, their AI bands behind them, and they just create various compositions, and they keep on, they select which instruments they want, the type of tempo, and you can do these types of things, generate a piece, no, that's rubbish, let's try again, generate another one, and then that person can then sing with this type of backing band behind them. That's the technology level we're at today. Just if people are interested in those sorts of things, I'm not going to advertise their companies here, but we can talk about that later.
Everyone is doing it. I think also Google has this project, Google Magenta.
Yeah, Magenta as well.
They want to do that. I think there are various levels of automatization. Like it's first composing a score. Mm-hmm. This is first level, so you have a symbolic, like the notes. Yes. Next you have the expressive, making the score sound like not. Yeah, I mean now you can. It has reached a point that you can barely. I mean you notice that it's artificial, but it will reach a point where you will not know that this is artificial.
So you can put together Michael Jackson with Freddie Mercury.
I've been listening for Michael Jackson songs, different songs, for a year, and just not generating new ones. Yeah,
the Spotify team that was previously in Sony now it used to work on generating songs in the style of Miles Davis, or it worked really well. I mean. I think the Voctor Labs company in Barcelona, they work on something like try to generate something that will sound as Louis Armstrong. So they try to somehow have a model of this artist's voice who is dead, and then try to generate a new song. Well, someone will compose the notes and the lyrics, but the voice will sound like. So artist who is no longer alive. So they also work on that, like this museum of music.
This thing you said about if that is killing the soul of music, I mean, I'm not afraid of that, not in my case, because, I read that when the recording systems starting to appear, like when the cinema started to have sound, recorded sound, the collective that was against that more strongly were musicians, because they thought that the live music will end with the recordings. No? Okay. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe without recorded music, there will be more live music. But I don't know. But it's not that. No? Yeah. And musicians are really benefiting from recorded music. So I think with all technologies it's not like the amazing thing that will change everything, and it's not also the super dangerous thing that it will end with everything. That is my view.
Yeah, because music is inside people anyway, so people will still creating.
Yeah, but to add to that, the music industry was always afraid of new technology. And So they will be afraid of artificial intelligence and automatically created music, probably.
Well, it's kind of scary, that thing in, I don't know if it's Japan or Korea, where most people admire artificial, it's not a
like
real
Hatsune
person.
Miku.
It's kind of scary, I think. I don't know.
I don't know if some musician is really afraid of algorithm replacing him or her. Okay, maybe you should try harder. No, I don't know. That is my
Fair
opinion.
enough.
You know?
This is true with any profession. So if in your profession you are scared that some AI could replace you, then you should really work harder.
Yeah, I don't know.
But besides that, I'm concerned that at some point there will be some technology that everyone uses, some automatic that will make song writing or something a lot easier, and everyone will use it. And this technology will be created just using, I don't know, the singing style of Britney Spears or something, I don't know, or something that is really focused on something that will generate things in some styles and not in the others. And the music will be much poorer because of that, because we will generate within a single style, not so. We should always, I don't know, I think we should we should be aware of this diversity problem in with these technology things.
Well, actually, there are some artists are like products too. So, what's the difference between a technological product or a product that other human? You know what I mean? So, well, I don't know. It's just it's time for lunch. I would like to finish with a sentence that I think it's to sum up what we have talking about. Is like, in order to successfully hack humans, you need two things: a good understanding of biology and a lot of computer power. So it's from Yuval Noah Harari, the Sapiens author. And I think it's kind of scary, but it's okay. So welcome, thank you very much for being here. And I hope that you have enjoyed this session. And if you have more questions, maybe we can chat later with some tapas. And that's it. Thank you very much.